All right, this will be probably the last meeting, the reading. I think we're going to finish the book today. We're on page 371, Town Meeting, continuation of Chris's account of the recon expedition. Supper is a far cry from bread and water. We're certainly not being fed like prisoners. A large basket is delivered to the guards with plates and cups for us to eat from the same food the guards eat. Chicken and rice with biscuits, gravy, fresh milk makes for a good meal. The only difference is that we are only allowed spoons while the guards get forks. We still can't get guards to talk, not even over supper. Evening turns to night as the sound of our truck's engine stops at the door. Vince enters and motions for only Randy to follow him. Text message, CQ, 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 KF5 OSI. Recon Team 1, CQ, CQ, CQ. Text reply, Recon Team 1, KF5 OSI. Copy. KF5 OSI, Recon Team 1. Start. Arrived KS. Request voice link. Out. Recon Team 1, KF5 OSI. Copy. Request voice link. Out. Randy is escorted back to us and fills us in. I requested a voice link, and as soon as Pat came on, Vince took the mic and they brought me back here. The only warning I could give them was spelling out Recon Team. Pat came up with that as an alert, but I had no way to tell him what the alert was for. Who all was out there, I ask. Larry, Moe, Curly, Shep, and Vince, Randy replies. Funny, I say, but save the names till you know what motivates them. Still, in the absence of real names, you can get stuck with what pops up. After nearly 20 minutes, Vince returns with the four others. They're not frowning, and the reduced tension is obvious. I think it's time we introduce ourselves. You know my name is Vince Parker. This is Damon Eckert, Elmer Tousley, Dwight Woodard, and Lewis Roth. I guess you could say we're the clearing board for Hazel Creek. I just spoke with Pat Wagner and Matt Connors. They corroborate your stories and seem like good folks. I don't want to get your hopes up, but our report will have to be accepted by a community vote. And if they approve, there may be room in this town for your group. We've certainly lost many more than that this year alone. I can't say which way the decision will go. These people have been through an awful time and may want to just be left alone. You do have resources we could use, and that may help. Tonight was the first friendly contact we've had from outside town since the lights went off. We have a retired doctor among us, but he's stretched thin and says he could really use a nurse. Hazel Creek is a fine town with good people who have been pressed beyond the limits of most. I hope you'll understand our need to check you out. I'd like to offer you my hand. Vince steps forward and offers his hand to me. It's not an imposing handshake that he expects to be received, but rather a humble offering. I accept it, and when our hands join, the room suddenly loses its hostility and handshakes follow between each of us, the board, and the guards. Voices flow. Guards suddenly have names and voices, and best of all, the shotguns are set aside. I'm Josh Bennett, and this is Keith Reed. Our former guards shake our hands. I'm real glad we didn't have to shoot you guys. You're different than the others. Sam and I make eye contact with both of our eyes raised. I'm real glad you didn't have to shoot me either, Sam replies. Elmer explains, we'll give our report at the meeting tomorrow midday. There'll be a time for discussion after which you'll be brought in. Each of you will introduce and tell something about yourselves. Then you'll leave and a vote will be taken. The vote is final and has to be 2/3 in favor for approval. What if the vote isn't enough? Asked John. Damon continues. You've already been cleared of being a threat. No harm will come to you. If the vote to accept you is declined, you'll be free to go, but not to return. If you are found after that, well, don't be. Randy asks, what of our truck and supplies? Lewis answers, nothing you have is of concern to us. Our defenses are effective and disciplined. You will be allowed to take what you brought, and we may barter a bit if you have a mind to trade. I sleep some, but not soundly, anticipating the fateful meeting and perhaps possible answer to our mission. We're allowed access to our personal bags, which lets us clean up and shave in the hall washroom before the town gets a first impression. Sam comments as he rinses his face after shaving, "I feel half human again." Now, if you could do something about that smell, Randy's quick wit reflects a hopeful attitude. I say, I've been noticing the truck doesn't smell fresh anymore. It'd do us all well to be friendlier with the soap. Half laughs fill the washroom as four of us share two small sinks. Most farms keep large fuel reserves to run tractors and farm equipment, but when that's gone, there's no tanker truck coming for a refill. Fuel is precious and many come to the town meeting by bicycle or on foot. One truck pulls up with a hay wagon full of people. I guess it's the new mass transit. We watch through the Grange Hall window and wait to be called. Josh steps in and motions us to follow him. Everybody's seated in the church for the meeting. I'm going to let you sit in the foyer on the bench, but don't make a sound. The double outside doors open to a small foyer with a pew bench against the right wall. Inside, another set of double doors apparently leads to the auditorium. We quietly sit and can hear the meeting. Dwight opens the meeting. As we begin, for the sake of order, I'm asking you to refrain from making any comment until discussion is open. I realize this is a tough subject, especially for some, but please hear all of what we present before making judgment or comments that might hinder someone from making their own informed decision. For the first time, we have apprehended some visitors that appear peaceful. They have been thoroughly examined, and each of them confirms the exact same story. They fully confess that they are a scouting party for a group of about 50 men, women, and children whose homes have been destroyed or rendered such that they can't return to them. Last night, we allowed them to contact their group by radio, and without notice, we took charge of the radio and spoke with their leaders, who verified both their need and the mission of this team. These people are much like us, except they've been driven from their homes by various causes. They're engineers, homemakers, builders, and have among their numbers, a registered nurse, whom I have learned as of last night is very close to birthing their first child. Now, before we open this to discussion, I must entertain a motion from the board. Vince Parker stands and addresses the room. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After a thorough examination of these four men and after speaking to their leaders and with unanimous support of the board, I motion to accept this group of about 50 persons into our community as neighbors. Dwight continues, "Thank you for that motion. Do we have a second?" "Second," says Damon Eckert. Dwight resumes, "The motion is moved and seconded to accept this group of about 50 persons as represented by the four men we have found into our community as neighbors. We'll now open the floor to discussion. Please speak clearly and in turn. We will allow for everyone who wishes ample time to express their feelings on this matter." Fred Elkhart stands and is recognized. "Where are these people from and how far away are they now?" Vince stands. "Currently, they are wintering in Terlingua, Texas, and having visited there on 2 occasions, I can tell you they can't last long there. Prior to that, they fled from the Houston area mostly, but a few from the surrounding towns in South Texas. It would take them at least 2 days to get here if approved." Dick Reed stands and is recognized. "I'm trying real hard to believe there are good men left in this world. But after those bastards killed my wife and little girl last summer, I'm real slow to warm up to the idea. I think one of the best things we did was to put an outhouse over the pit where we buried the sons of bitches." Dwight has to regain order as I begin to realize some of the evil this town has faced. Emily Bennett stands and is recognized. "Lisa Reed was my best friend. And Dick, there's not a day I don't grieve her loss. And for Emma, too. We lost a lot of neighbors and friends in the battles. Some of those losses are deeper than flesh, as I see the change that came over my own daughter, Corinne, as she learned to kill a man as quick as she could a deer. We've all paid a huge price, and I just want it to be over. If these people are like you say, maybe accepting them can be a first step toward building a better place for our children." From the foyer we listen, as others speak of horrible acts committed by despicable people. Our safe harbor of camp insulated us from the spilling out of horror that ensued as desperate, violent, and unprepared masses spiraled out of cities to the surrounding communities. These honest, God-fearing people learned from losses to fight back, but the soldiers' curse was there to consume them. Now they are being asked to exercise compassion over hate. Can they bury their anger as they have their enemies? This vote will tell. Dwight addresses the room once more. If everyone has spoken their piece before we take the vote, I want you to meet these four men and hear from them yourselves. Josh Bennett, please bring them in. The vote. My name is Chris Spencer. I'm recently separated honorably from the United States Army. I have a wife, Becky, and we have a 3-year-old daughter, Gina. We lived near Lubbock, and after the power failed, our neighborhoods began to be looted by gangs from town. It wasn't safe, so Becky, Gina, and I loaded with what food and water we had and headed south. I got dehydrated and took sick. We were hiding in an abandoned airport hangar when people from this group found us. They took us to their camp and saved my life. We stayed with them since, and I can tell you, they have been angels of mercy for my family. If you accept us, they will be an asset to your families. I'm Randy Fowler. I grew up with the son of the owner of the property referred to as camp. It's where we hid while the world came apart. Watching the leadership team pray for us and organize a group of 50 to live in a space designed for 10 not only allowed us to survive, it allowed my faith to grow. We saw God provide for our needs on a daily basis. These people are good people, and if you vote no, God will provide for them in some other place. But if you vote yes, you'll bring that blessing right here. I'm John. I've worked with Randy and seen him supervise what we call the pit. It's where we burn limestone to make our own cement and crush dried clay for other building needs. It was hot, dirty, dry, and one of the best jobs I ever worked. We all got along like brothers, and I've seen that same attitude in others. There's something special about this group, and I hope you accept us as neighbors. Sam Elliott is my name. I was a project manager for the company that Matt Connors owns. He and his son Jason are not like wealthy business owners who get wrapped up in their money. They each take personal interest and care for every person they come in contact with. The business reached beyond the employees and included families. Now I've been listening to what these other guys have been telling you, and it does sound a bit much to believe that people that good are out there. If I wasn't part of it, I'd probably have trouble swallowing it too. What I can tell you is that no matter where they end up, I want to be with them. Dwight again takes the podium. As our guests return to their place outside, we'll call for the vote. Returning to the foyer, we hear the vote being called. All those in favor of accepting this group of 50 or so people into our community, please signify by saying aye. A large group of voices can be heard. Aye. Dwight continues. Opposed, same sign. A lesser but still significant group of voices can be heard. Nay. Dwight proceeds. All those in favor of accepting this group of 50 or so people into our community, please signify by raising your hand for a hand count. There is silence as the count is made. Dwight continues. Opposed, same sign for a hand count. With the count completed, Lewis Roth presents the count to the chairman. Dwight reads the count. Of 82 prospective voters, we have by hand count 59 votes in favor, 22 opposed, with 3 abstaining. The ayes have it. Josh, bring in our new neighbors. Vince Parker steps to the podium as we enter. Friends and neighbors, this can be the beginning of our return from the ashes if our new friends decide to accept us as neighbors. It is ultimately their choice now. Chris, Randy, Sam, and John. This valley has rich soil and enough precipitation to farm without irrigation. Furthermore, we are blessed with good amounts of game and fair fishing in the river that flows through town. Sadly, there are many vacant homes and good farms that need occupants. Will you consider moving here and becoming our neighbors? Their offer seems sincere. but we haven't seen much of the area. I try to make my answer friendly, but with explanation. First, I want to thank you for the offer. We've not seen much of the land yet, but I do personally know of some of what you've had to endure these past few months. War changes a person, and that change doesn't wash off. You have treated us with respect in light of how you've been treated by others. It speaks well of the kind of people you still are. If we can be allowed to complete our mission and see the area, I can assure you of a favorable report to our leadership board. I know this to be one of the sweetest places God created, Vince replies. At least it was before the world fell apart. I'd be glad to arrange a guided tour if you'd like. There's a lot more to this place than these few buildings. Many of the townspeople come and shake hands, but most of the smiles are only complimentary. A tall man without any smile approaches Sam and shakes his hand before speaking. My name's Dick Reed. I'm one of the votes against the measure, but I don't want you to take it personal. You folks sound like good people, but there's a lot of hurt in Hazel Creek. Folks need time to heal, and I think they'd do it best with just their neighbors and friends. I'm outvoted, and it's the way of things, but I'm not your enemy, and I'll help you folks settle in once you get here. Sam looks him in the eye and says, Thanks, Dick. I hope we can change your mind and help the recovery. I think your town paid an awful price, and we're grateful for a place to settle. Sam does not smile when talking with Dick. There are times when a smile cheapens your words, and this is one of those. Randy, Sam, John, and I go in different directions, spending the day exploring Hazel Creek. It is much as described, and there are plenty of available homes. Randy and our former guard Josh take the Ranger, while Sam and Byron Bennett take the Gator he was driving the day we came to town. John is enjoying his literal ride through the country as he and Elmer Tousley are on horseback. I'm spending the day with Vince Parker and his mid-sized pickup truck. I apologize for taking up their gas, but he has a good answer. We might as well drive it while we can. Most of the farms have fuel tanks, but gas doesn't last past 6 to 8 months, and we're close to that already. Stabilizer helps, but we only ever kept enough to winterize small equipment. We're trying to drive the gassers now. The diesel lasts longer, but even that won't last us more than about another 6 months, if we ration our use. I've been meaning to ask you, how are you getting your people up here? Do you have it worked out? Partly, I confess. We have some diesel saved up, but we're short a few vehicles. It's not an easy drive, and I'd hate to make 2 trips. Let me work on that, says Vince. We may have an option. Touring the many farms and the properties around Hazel Creek sheds light to how bad their struggle has been. Several homes are burned out with unmistakable sign of massive weapons fire. Even charred wood is riddled with bullet holes, and the fresh graves, I assume, are former residents. As explained at the meeting, bad guys receive no honor or grave marking. At the edge of town, a small park stands vacant. Nearly the entire front grass area appears to have been tilled but not furrowed for planting. In the center of what looks like a 16 by 20 foot plot stands a solitary outhouse, the only marker for this town's Boot Hill. Randy, Sam, John, and I regroup after our sightseeing and follow directions to where we are to eat tonight. Supper, as they call the evening meal here, is served for us at the home and farm of Byron and Emily Bennett. Their long driveway serves 2 houses, but the second house has been burned to the foundation. Only the barn, pump house, and feed shed still stand. Welcome to our home, says Byron, as he comes to greet us. I see you found us. I hope the directions were easy enough. Please come in and meet the family. The girls would come out, but they're busy in the kitchen. We follow Byron through a side door, entering into a rec room of what appears to be an addition to the traditional 2-story farmhouse. Mrs. Bennett comes down 2 steps from the kitchen area, wiping her hands on her apron before shaking our hands. I'm so glad you could come. Would you like some tea? Please have a seat. Byron begins introductions. Emily, this is Chris, Randy, Sam, and John. Gentlemen, this is my wife, Emily, and up in the kitchen there, Byron points up to where a young girl is stirring something on the stove, is my daughter, Corinne. Corinne turns and waves, but doesn't appear too apt to join any conversation. It is then that I recognize the young sniper we picked up on the way into town. Now for that tea. Would you like yours without sugar or unsweetened? Emily's smile is the first genuine smile we've seen in Hazel Creek, except for Josh, when he said he was glad he didn't have to shoot us. Randy, Sam, and John take the hint and all request unsweetened, testing the water for levity. I request, I believe I'll be different and have mine without sugar if it's all right. With another genuine smile, Mrs. Bennett says, that will be just fine, and she disappears to the kitchen. Small talk with Byron fills the short time until Corinne comes with a serving tray of 5 glasses of tea. Corinne is a beautiful 16-year-old girl who stood ready to drop us in our tracks when we first approached town. In most ways, Corinne looks 16, but deep in her eyes, she is much older. Youth and the silliness of girlhood has been denied her. She sets the tray on the coffee table and departs with an emotionless look that I recognize from my deployments. It's called a combat stare, and soldiers develop it after the shock of war wears off and killing becomes just another part of the day. Reaching for a glass of tea, I notice the glass is sweating. First touch confirms my guess. It's cold. I haven't had anything really cold since winter, when I wished it was hot. How do you do it? Byron grins, and he reveals his proud secret. We have a camper trailer on the north side of the house, and the refrigerator runs on propane. It's not big, but we can keep a few things cold. We have a big underground tank because when it gets real cold in winter, an above-ground tank can freeze up. Since the power went out, the furnace won't run. The propane only runs the stove and that little refrigerator out there. All of us savor every cold drop of our tea. Supper is roasted rooster, canned corn, biscuits, and country gravy. We give compliments to the ladies for the meal, and though each says thank you, only Mrs. Bennett smiles. Evening brings reception again, and we contact camp. Returning home. CQ, 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 K5, KF5OSI, RT1, CQ, CQ, CQ. Reply, RT1, KF5OSI, copy. KF5OSI, RT1, start, all is well, request voice link, out. RT1, KF5OSI, copy request voice link, out. Randy keys the mic. KF5OSI, RT1, do you copy? RT1, KF5OSI, read you readable but with static, over. Roger that, is this Pat? Roger, this is Pat. Is that you, Randy? Yes. I wanted VoiceLink to explain that we are all well and have made contact with survivors. Copy that, we spoke with them last night. I take it the vote was approved? That is affirmative. We have surveyed the area and all looks well. Returning home tomorrow. We'll continue text each night. Looking forward to having you back. Travel safe. KF5 OSI clear. RT1 clear. Turning to Sam, Randy comments, you know, I like this radio stuff. If the FCC ever gets restarted, I'm going to get a license. Our trailer and equipment are in a nearby barn where at first light we are loading it for the trip back. We decide to leave the water treatment chemicals and most of the ammunition here, along with the garden tools and pails of food from the bunker. Anything not essential to our round trip doesn't merit us having to bring it back. One extra item catches our attention and is going to slow our departure. Randy and I come to the same conclusion as we find the multi-band ham radio we got from the bunker. Randy says, you know, we can't just leave this without setting it up. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, I respond. How long will it take us to set it up? Randy looks the equipment over. It looks all here, and even has some instructions for setting up the antenna. I think with help, we can have it up in a couple hours. Let's do it, I say. Vince, got a minute? It's a good thing our bunker Rambo had some instructions with his radio gear because none of us really knows what we're doing. Pat set up our truck radio, and we need a crib sheet to operate that. As best we can, the radio is set up in the church foyer using 2 sets of jumper cables from a battery of a truck for power and running the antenna cable up the steeple and then across the street by rope to the maple tree. We are as set as we know how to be. Pat can laugh at us when he gets here, but we really won't know how well we've done until tonight after 10 o'clock. Randy powers on the radio and presets some frequencies and modes to be the same as our truck radio. If all goes well, we should be able to talk to each other. With the truck and trailer loaded, we say our goodbyes and just start to pull out when a horn honking gets our attention. From behind us, a big yellow school bus pulls around the corner and rumbles up alongside us. In the driver's seat is the other guard, Keith Reed. He opens the door and announces, "Pop said you'd need this, and I can come along to help if you'll let me." This is our team bus for football. Dad and I went and got it after things turned bad. We knew it always had full fuel tanks and a reserve, but didn't think till last night that it would be useful as a bus. It'll hold 60. So we removed some back seats for cargo. We added 2 barrels of diesel in back, so we won't have to look for a gas station either way. Can you use it? Us? Looking at Sam, Randy, and John, and the look on their face says enough. I think we can use it, and you, if you're willing. Thanks. And Vince, be sure to give our thanks to Dick. We'll try the radio on voice by 10:15. Let's hope we did things right. If not, we should see you in 2 weeks regardless. Safe travels, says Vince. Do you have my cell phone number just in case? Hearing the tone in Vince's voice tells me a grin is all I need reply. Wait a minute, guys, I say, and with the bus and the truck, we can leave the Ranger here and have more room coming back. Let's unload it. It only takes a few minutes to unload the Ranger, and I hand the keys to Vince with the remark, only drive it to church on Sundays. See you in a couple of weeks. I take the M79 and bunker Rambo's AR-15 to the bus with me and Keith, while Sam, Randy, and John keep the 308 and shotgun. Each of us has a sidearm. I ask Keith, "Are you good with a pistol?" Keith answers, "I can hit what I'm aiming at and keep heads down while reaching for my long gun." Great answer, I say. Here's a 45 we found on the way here. It had surface rust, but we picked it up when we picked it up, but I've cleaned it up and it's serviceable. Here's 2 extra mags to go with it. Thanks, Keith says. Let's hope we don't need it. I like you more already. Keith seems to hold a healthy attitude about the use of force. We're going to backtrack the way we came. It's not a direct route, but it gets around major towns. Good, says Keith. Dad and I went to Wichita a month after the power went out. He thought maybe it was just our area was down and we might find stores open in the big city. Were we ever wrong? We could see the smoke from 50 miles out. Even staying off the main roads, we couldn't get very close for all the wrecked and abandoned cars. People were shot in the street and some right in their cars. A wounded man came staggering out of where stormwater meets the river. He was bad hurt. We gave him water and sat with him. Did you get him some help? I asked. There wasn't any place to take him, Keith continues. Even the hospitals were burned. He said the trouble began when the money failed, but really got bad when sections of town started celebrating the fall of the USA. When the power failed and the police pulled back, he said an army of civilians started a massacre of that whole area. They never had a chance, but I guess they lit their own fuse. You're lucky to have gotten out of there, I answer. We heard from ham operators that what you found was a copy in nearly every metro area in the country. Not even the military had enough manpower to control it. The government has been walking all over the Constitution and letting foreign interests immigrate to America. I guess 30 million armed citizens decided they'd had enough. Did your friend make it? No, Keith answers. He died just as it got dark, and we snuck back into the truck and got back home. This is the first time anyone has been outside our town since. The remainder of the trip back to Terlingua was without incident. The bunker is as we left it, and we don't go back into the town we scavenged on the way up. Nightly radio contact is successful, including contact with Hazel Creek. I guess we didn't goof things up too bad. Both Keith and the bus are a surprise for the folks at home. As a game between the 5 of us, we never let on about either until we all rumble up to the main building. We almost blew it on the radio once, but we managed to keep the surprise. Becky jumps me with hugs and kisses as Gina grabs my legs. Sure is good to be back home. Packing and waiting. We are back to Jason's perspective. What a trip, says Anna. I'm so glad you weren't along. I'd have worried sick. Trying to comfort Anna, I say, well, Becky sure was a wreck when she got the coded distress message. She would have been better off not knowing. She knew before the message, Anna quipped. In her heart, she knew the whole day that something was wrong. She told me so. Did she tell you when the baby will come? I'm trying to change the subject from Anna worrying over me, even though I did end up going. Even though I didn't end up going. Anna just shoots me that universal message every woman seems to know how to do from birth, and I get the look. Nothing more than everyone knows. This baby is coming anytime soon, and I'm very ready. Trying to console Anna, at least it's not the dead of summer. Winter is a better time to snuggle a baby on board. Jason, you're not helping. There is no good time to have a baby on board. She puts both feet on my bladder and stretches. Then she plays soccer with my stomach, then stretches again, so I can hardly breathe. Then kicks my bladder again. Now to top things off, my breasts are getting so big I can hardly fit into my blouses. I feel like a cow. If men carried babies, one child per family would be all she wrote. Sticking to my gender preference, I remind Anna, she. It could be a he, you know. Anna is quick to respond. He or she. It can be an orangutan for all I care. I just want it born. I can hardly waddle to dinner. Realizing Anna will not be consoled by anything I say, I sit on the bed next to her, take her in my arms, and just hold her. This seems to work better than words for my very pregnant wife. Perhaps this baby is going to take a while, because Anna seems to have plenty of energy. We walked to dinner, even though I offered to bring food to her in our cottage. Now after dinner, she's cleaning the house and packing for the trip to Kansas. Where she gets the energy is beyond me. I'm tired out just watching her. We go to bed early, and I barely get to sleep when Anna puts a death grip on my arm and says, Jason, are you awake? If I wasn't, I am now, I reply. Can I help you? Can I get you something? Yes, Anna says. Go get Jackie and Lisa. I'm having this baby. I thought you said Marge was going to be the midwife. Marge said Lisa has more experience. Just go. Well, the Viking is back. I nearly kill myself trying to get my pants on in the dark. Stumbling out the door, I mutter to myself, you'd have to pick a moonless night, too. Whatever happened to that full moon thing? Jackie and George are in the Perry Mansion rooms, and I managed to get word to them first. Lisa and Bob are in one of the larger cottages with their 3 children, and it's only after nearly reaching their door that I'm drawn to the attention of my bare feet, and this being snake country. Worse is remembering Lucas telling us that snakes are very active at night. I'm really not interested in having my wife become a single mom, but snakes or no snakes, I'm on a mission. Knock, knock, knock. Bob, Lisa, it's me, Jason. Anna sent me to get you. She says it's time. She's having the baby. You know how sound travels over long distances at night? Well, I guess I could have called Lisa and Jackie from our porch because the lamp's starting to glow in Bob and Lisa's cottage and also nearly every place in the ghost town. I don't doubt a few ghosts are out of their graves and standing watch over this event. Our porch is crowded with people before I can even get back. If any snakes are out tonight, they better be careful or they'll get squashed underfoot. Jason, get in here. I need you. Nothing pierces the night like a woman calling her husband in mid-contraction. I'm not sure what Lisa and Jackie are doing, but my attention is fully on Anna. Trying to help her relax, I'm holding her hand as she's squeezing the life out of my arm. We are having this baby. As Lisa says, push, I tell Anna, okay, little Viking, it's showtime, push. Anna's expression is eyes closed, teeth clenched, and her lips open so that I can see all her teeth. Her face is red and she's pushing with all she has. I'm wondering where the baby is. Anna pushed. I saw her do it. So where's the baby? I'm not understanding this. Marge comes in to assist. Lisa and Jackie. to assist Lisa and Jackie. Lisa tells Anna to breathe, but she has been, except for when she was pushing. Now Lisa says to push again. I wish they'd make up their minds. Anna nearly breaks my arm with both hands squeezing, and she goes all red-faced again. This time she must have done it right, or Lisa did it right, because here comes our baby, crying and beautiful. Anna, we have a beautiful baby girl. Great job. She even has your red hair. Another Viking in the family. Having no traditional family Bible with the genealogy page, we enter her birth information on the inside front cover of Anna's Bible. Anna Marie Iverson Connors, married to Jason James Connors, born this day, February 26th. Mandy Marie Connors, 7 pounds, 2 ounces, 19 inches long. The planned move to Hazel Creek is delayed for a week to give both Anna and Mandy time to recover. Marge and Lisa think she should take more time, but Anna is up and walking a few hours after Mandy's birth, and Mandy is nursing well for a new famished Viking. What an appetite. It was good thinking that Randy and Chris set up the radio for Hazel Creek. We've been in nightly communications, and they understand our short delay. It is giving us time to get to know each other from a distance before our two very different groups attempt to merge. Different fails to describe the chasm between our avoiding adversity at camp and Hazel Creek battling monsters daily. Keith Reed is a nice kid, but hearing his account of the week's past default, and then as it got worse when the power failed, is chilling. What gets my attention most is how he tells it without the emotion you would expect. He tells it like from a history book. Chris says it's typical of combat veterans, he says. After a while, nothing surprises you. Your emotions callous over, and you turn hard. Hopefully in time, you can come partway back to humanity. I hope we're making the right move. Time will tell. And that finishes the reading of my book. About the series is the last page. If you have enjoyed Days of Ragnarok, End of the Gods, please drop me a line, contact@the11hour.com. You can also give a book review at goodreads.com. You can get an account for free, and it allows you a part of a community of readers and book reviews. It says I'm currently working on the next of the Ragnarok series, Two Worlds Meet. Ask for it at your bookstore. Well, Two Worlds Meet is already in print and available. And this is Realm of Ragnarok. Realm of Ragnarok, Two Worlds Meet. And this picks up exactly where Days of Ragnarok leaves off. And I hope you enjoy it. It's available through Amazon. It's also available through any major bookstore if you ask for it by the author name and title. Major blessings. I hope you enjoy it. God bless.